Hey everybody, I'm Rob. I'm back here. I've got Tommy Icarus. He is a long dear friend of mine, and I'm excited to have him on this show. Yeah, it's good to have you. Cheers.
Cheers.
I've got my
Za.
talk show host appropriately.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is some good stuff. That is nice water. But yeah, man, how you been?
Oh man, all things considered, exceedingly well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, living life, doing the things.
So, what's new with you? What'd you do over the quarantine?
Man, I tried to make the most of it, stay sane, partially succeeded.
Yeah.
Um, been doing a lot of writing, always writing. Working on a new album. Actually, most interestingly, I think I've been getting into Foley work and sound design for video games and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
So,
Huh.
yeah, yeah.
Did you know that I've actually got everything set up for integration into it?
Seriously.
It's a form of it's a form of like I've been setting things up here so that we can do things if opportunities
Oh.
come along. And actually, I've just got plug. I just we just had a meeting, our first meeting with we kind of created a voiceover collective as well,
Yeah.
and so
Oh, come on.
putting everything
Yes.
together so that we can do that. And I'm a composer, and I have things up that.
Yeah.
And actually, during the quarantine, I think I've mentioned before on here, um, what I did was I kind of retreated into my little finished attic hole,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
said, I'm gonna get my composition chops back because that's kind
Oh,
of
come on. Yeah. All right, man, we're gonna have to have some conversations about that.
that's not why we're here. I mean, sort of
Yeah.
having a talk, but that's fantastic Foley work. And I actually had a question about that. Someone said, "Do you do Foley work?" And I had mentioned that if Cam and I had the space that we wanted right away, we were
Yeah, yeah.
talking about building a Foley pit. So
Oh,
eventually,
come on. That's awesome.
like
Y-
gravel and glass,
Yeah, yeah.
all that stuff. So
Oh, yeah. All right, we're gonna have to nerd out on that another
yeah,
time.
we'll talk about that if at no other point when you get in here for this stream. Uh,
Yeah.
so, but you've been writing and you're working on a new record. I think Jim
Yeah.
Bailey and I have talked about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Jim's joining me on drums, and I have a couple of the fellows from the Great Train Robbery.
Oh,
Adam and Josh on guitar and bass. They're helping fill it out. And yeah, gonna be coming out we're gonna start dropping singles in April.
okay.
So,
Well, good. This is perfect timing then.
mhm.
Um, it'll be, and you can talk about it even more. Are you playing any of those new songs then on the stream?
Oh yes, yes, I
Okay,
will indeed.
cool. Make sure you let people know.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
will. I'm gonna start that hype train here real quick.
yeah, it's something that I like to have too. It's like, oh, fresh,
Yeah, yeah.
something that's new. Well, cool. I'm glad to hear that. I think I've heard a couple of them. At least I don't know if you've played them live or I might have.
Yeah, you've heard some of them. Like I think Carolina, I have a video of that up.
Right. Yeah.
That's one of the ones on the new album. A few others, it'll actually be the first recorded live performance, so
That's
that'll
right.
be cool.
It's one of the benefits that we have of there not being a whole lot of live shows.
Yeah,
This is the first time it's played out in public, essentially.
yeah, right on.
So that's fun. Uh, I guess the next, like, what I want to know is what's it been like? Is it different? I know that you've done recordings on your own.
Yeah,
In fact, I've come over and sat and listened to them, and we talked, and you do such a good job together that it was enjoyable, and I got to add some synth parts to some things. I don't know if we ever kept it because I don't know if we ever finished it, but it was fun to work on that stuff.
yeah. Which I mean, I might be tugging on your sleeve here in the future if ever you're free.
I mean, I will be free for you. It will be,
Want to start some sort of just absurd synth pop duo.
yeah. Sounds like a
All
lot of
right, man, let's do it. But
what,
anyway, yeah. To
yeah. So what's this one been like?
All
Um,
right, so it's been a massive transition for me going from doing everything by myself. I am a mediocre sound engineer at best. I can establish I can write
yeah,
and arrange and get the vibe I want, but as far as the technical side of it, I'm lacking. So it's kind of cool to have been working with Jim. He has a much better setup and I think a better grasp of the engineering side of things. So it's been a fun collaborative effort there. And we've just been going to town, tearing songs apart, rearranging them over and over until we're like, all right, yeah, kind of feeling that. It's an interesting transition going from doing everything by yourself to almost relearning how to work with people again in that capacity.
Yeah.
So it takes a while, obviously, to develop the same sort of vibe that you would so easily on your own, but it can become so much more complex and layered. So that's just kind of, that we're just starting out, and it's a blast.
Well, it's I
Yeah.
mean that's the part about it that I'm drawn to
Yeah.
and that I love. George Martin is a hero of mine.
Mm.
There's a new documentary called Produced by George Martin. It's a
Oh,
biopic essentially with interviews with George. It's kind of I think it's
yeah.
kind of an homage thing towards the end of his life. It's on no, what did I say? Netflix? No, it's on Amazon Prime.
Okay, cool. I have to watch that.
It,
That sounds awesome.
I geeked out to the whole thing, realizing
Yeah.
very well that there aren't that many people that are going to geek out the way I did.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I want to emulate. I thought what he did was amazing. He has a
Yeah.
quote from Degas about how I think Degas said that sketching or drawing isn't what you see, it's what you have to make others see.
Mm.
That's what he does, and that's what we do in
Yeah.
the studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Used to, and we still do sometimes take snapshots, but we paint. The studio is actually a canvas. It's not just a backdrop, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
these pictures as artists and producers, and that is my that's my fire,
Right on.
Ben. So yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to hear that, man. And we've
Right
talked
on.
about working together, and I hope to do that soon too, because like I said, that's just sort of my wheelhouse. So you've enjoyed
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's oh, surrendering control is not always the easiest thing, but it's so rewarding at the same time. I
Yeah.
kind of approached this next stage. I sat everybody down. And I'm like, all right, guys, have at it. I want you to paint all over this as long as the spirit of the song remains intact. I want to see what's floating in your brains. Like how do you interpret these parts? And so I've been very, very free about that. And everything that's been written so far, I think it's been super fun. And I think it's only going to get progressively better. The more everybody learns each other's style, so on and so forth.
Do you think it's changing the way you perform them solo?
Um,
Do
no, no. I usually have like three different arrangements for every song that I write anyway, depending on, am I playing an acoustic? Am I playing an electric? Am I, whatever. How do I feel that night?
Yeah.
So it's
Well, and not
yeah.
to not to knock any other sound that we've had because it's Zoom, it's difficult, but I this is probably going to be the best sounding interview we have yet because
Yeah, yeah.
you set up, your microphone there, and I think that's fun. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I found this it's an MXL 770 that I found in my basement. I'm like, let's see how it sounds. I've been recording with it some.
Yeah,
It's all right.
yeah, I think it sounds pretty good. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah. Gotcha, man.
I suppose we've talked a bit in the past. We've talked about Muse as one of your influences.
Definitely, yeah.
We've talked a lot about that '80s synth sound as well.
Yeah.
And so, are those still your major influences? Have you found anything else? What have you been listening to? What's been going on in your
Mm.
zeitgeist?
So I haven't really been listening to a whole lot of music. Most of it has been orchestral compositions and video game soundtracks and things like that, kind of getting my brain in that headspace. I've always been such a sucker for video game music, going all the way back, to its genesis, where they had to do so much with so little, and so those melodies and oh man, they
Castlevania. Oh my
God,
god.
yeah, yeah, anything from The Legend of Zelda, Castlevania, like you could go on and on. They're just soul piercingly good
Final
melodies.
Fantasy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man,
Oh.
it's incredible.
So, I mean, I've been listening to a lot more of that than more, contemporary styles. I'd have to say maybe uh, some Queens of the Stone Age. I love their new album. I love their old albums, all of their stuff. I always go back to like early Genesis.
Mm.
It's always one of my favorites. Coheed is always in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I saw you did a
Um,
cover of something.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been working on building up, content to be able to drop it on, YouTube and what have you,
Yeah,
consistently. Getting a little studio set up in the basement for video stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, so not a whole lot. in regards to music. The sound is shifting on this new album, though. There's much more like maybe 90s and a little alternative influence in the 80s is kind of taking a little bit of a back seat to some of these songs.
Okay.
So
I'm very curious to hear that. I think that comes from working with the people you're working with, yeah?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, just letting the dice fall where they may and kind of feeling it. I'm like, all right, yeah, I can feel this arrangement. In some of the songs, it even got some Beatles influence going on, and so it's much broader, which you would expect having more people,
Mhm.
throwing out their ideas.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could ever fully separate from the 80s though. So I'm probably gonna just have like one-off singles that are just gonna be like total
Yeah.
synth nonsense and
Well, I think
yeah.
it's I don't I haven't heard this side of it yet. But I think you do that 80s. Do it so well. Better than a lot of the people in the 80s did. So
Oh man, thanks.
I think that that's something, to keep working on.
Absolutely.
What's your what's your like when what's your day like when you wake up musically? Like what's the
Yeah.
first thing that you can notice that's happening? Do you have somebody else's song in your head usually?
No.
Do
I
you
always have melodies in my head. I wake up with them, go to
no.
sleep with them. It drives me crazy.
Mm,
It just never stops, which is probably why I don't really listen to a whole lot of music
yeah.
because it's always going on in my head. So music isn't an escape for me. It's work, it is life, it's how I process. So I usually go to other things for that.
I
So
can
yeah, I wake up, have my coffee, get my caffeine fix, man, and just follow wherever the wind's blowing.
yeah. Um so like you said you got into Foley and video game stuff. That's
Yeah.
what the quarantine brought to your plate? Like that's what changed.
Yeah, not so much the quarantine. It just slaughtered all my show opportunities, so I just had a lot more time to put into it.
Well, and that's what
Um,
I mean, yeah.
yeah, my some of my siblings and we are making an indie dev team, and we're working on our first title. It's actually pretty close to being finished. I
I
have some
I cannot
amazing
wait to
modelers and animators and programmers in my family. So yeah, we're
just I love life. I love life. I was stressed out, not about this. Just
yeah.
I was looking at and I think other people share this experience, so I'm going to share it and be a bit vulnerable, but I was looking at other companies and
Yeah.
seeing their success. And they've been
Mhm.
doing it a while. And then I got that anxiety that,
Yeah.
oh, why are you even doing this? That whole crushing thing that occurs. And
Mhm.
I'm not unfamiliar with it. We're musicians. This is
Uh,
my life since I was
yeah.
2 years old, and it's not like there's no woe is me there. It's just
Yeah.
you learn to recognize it, and you have no choice but to move on.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
So I went to and watched there's a series on Netflix actually for guided meditation, and the next episode that I had up,
Mm.
it's called Headspace, and the next episode I had up was about stress and anxiety, and so I'm like, oh, perfect. So, and this is it's now we started the interview at 1:30
Yeah.
p.m. It's now, I think I did this at 12:40. This is when I was like, okay, all right, this is what we're going to do. And aside from gaining some balance from the
Yeah.
from the episode of the meditation, their animation's fantastic.
Oh,
And so I
yeah.
was sitting here thinking about it. I thought, why? Because I've put out a call for animators, and I've put out a call for people who are wanting to do game design, because I have it all, and I'm familiar, and I know the people. I've got, amongst my friends and the people that I respect, I've got composers, I've got
Yeah.
programmers, I've got the in between who are the musicians and the programmers who want to work with that middleman. So like
Oh,
that's exciting.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think that having um that swelling of anxiety helped me be open to whatever is coming to me types.
Yeah.
It always does, because again, we have no choice. So I don't want to
Yeah.
keep talking about me though. Uh,
No, no, that's awesome. That you mentioned that because yes, I think it's a very common thread with musicians, in particular artists, creative types, where um, I mean, gosh, so many of us probably have what could be classified as a mental illness, just dealing with all this sort of stuff, whether it's bipolar disorder or what have you, stress, anxiety, clinical depression. That's actually the whole meaning behind Icarus for me. I love that axiom. So Daedalus instructs him, you have to maintain this middle ground and find balance, because if you fly too high, your wings will melt, and obviously the ocean is beneath you. And so for me, it's always been a struggle to find consistency. I just going in these terrible cycles where I'll go too hard and crash, down into the depths. And so for me, I love the visual, but also really the axiom behind it. It as I've grown, just attempting to maintain balance in everything I do. So yeah, it's
Actually, I think that's a really good point. What do you think about the relationship between the creator and the consumer or the observer? The musician, and because I know that I'm sure you hear this often, and it kind of it breaks my heart in a way. But what I hear from people who is, oh, I wish I could create like you do, or music is so important to me. I wish I could make
yeah.
music. And what kind of breaks my heart is that I don't know if the audience realizes how important they are.
Oh my goodness, they're they're invaluable.
Right?
Every single connection you have with anybody regarding your art, where they express love and appreciation, it's the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
After I have experiences, I'm like, I try to play it cool and be very gracious, but like after that, I'm like, holy crap! Like another human being appreciated. They took their time, their energy, a lot of times their money, and they wanted to give that to me because of what I created.
Hmm.
And it just, God, man, it leaves me in awe.
Yeah.
But
Same.
yeah, I think that's something that should never be underestimated or underappreciated.
I don't think we exist without that.
No, we
I mean,
definitely
and
don't.
not just because they support us, but because there's no reason to do this with.
Yeah, it is our purpose.
Mhm.
It is for them.
Right.
Why do we create? We're attempting to articulate by whatever medium and means we have the human condition,
Right.
our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations, our joys, our failures, and they get to connect with that.
Mhm.
Man, ooh,
It's that connection, right? Like,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
create this and there's never any connection, there's different ways of seeing it. The brain perceives it differently. One of the ways that it's seen is that we're failures or we're not good at it. But really, the bottom line is that there hasn't been a connection made, and
yeah,
that's why we do it. And a lot of us feel at times, and I've heard a lot of people say that we're doing this for us. We create for us. It's what we need to do, but it's not necessarily the creation. Like the creation is an outlet,
yeah,
very helpful. It's basically emotional vomit, like controlled.
yeah.
That isn't
Sometimes more or less.
right. Yeah, yeah. But that's not even the point. The
No,
point is to connect, and I think that's what the listener gets from it too. I mean that's what I get from my favorite stuff, right? Like
oh, absolutely. Like, I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but for me personally, I don't think I would bother trying so hard and kind of shipwrecking my life in this regard if it weren't for that connection. I mean, all of us, man, none of us are going to make it out of this alive. We all have an expiration date, and it goes so incredibly quickly. How beautiful these moments that
Mhm.
we have are, and having art to connect with, to bring people together. It, what's the point of anything outside of connection, outside of each other?
Yeah, I
Oh,
was having a conversation last night about this in the middle of the night, as you do. We don't have the bars to do it at anymore.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
having a video chat with my friend Carrie, and we were talking about this and the idea that of moments. It's all moments. It's
yeah,
and
yeah.
Kurt Vonnegut. I think Kurt Vonnegut has a really good
Mm,
exposition on it, and one of I don't remember which story it is. It might be Slaughterhouse, but I don't remember. But he talks about how everything is just a stack of moments.
yeah,
It's all it is.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
moments, and the idea of, well, how do you then? how do you take something and say this is good for what it is and just for what it is? It doesn't have to go any further. And I've always thought of a sunset. How insane would it be to try and control that sunset so that you can have it whenever you want? You can't. Part of its beauty is
Yeah.
this now and only for 12 minutes or 6 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's another reason I love music so much, is that as far as I know, and it's not to demean anything else, it's the only form of art that exists only when it exists.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
so its impermanence kind of mirrors our existence. It's just
right.
like dust in the wind.
Yeah, it's exactly what that is.
Oh man. Ooh,
Man, I love talking to you. I don't
same.
know if we've gotten to anything that anybody.
No, I think we got I actually think we hit on everything important, because if you want to understand why I do what I do and the music that I create, this is it.
No.
It's this stuff. This is what's always going through my head.
I,
And
I,
yeah.
I just thought of something, and I think you're a good person to ask about this because we've been
Oh.
talking about this. So when you do this performance,
Hmm.
it's not the same as when we video something and then we put it out. I mean, it's very similar. This is live,
Yeah.
but there's very, very little feedback, immediate
Yeah.
feedback. So we have to put aside that need for what was that called?
Yeah.
Impulse, that immediate
Yeah.
feedback, immediate gratification, instant gratification. So have you done a live, like, I know you've done live streams like from your phone, and that's similar, but like this is an interesting setup, and I don't know if,
Hmm.
and I love this when musicians experience this because to me it's new and it's just a new
Yeah. Yeah.
about. Um, they always comment, well, they eventually comment that it's strange because it is like a performance, like a live show, but there's no feedback. And
Yeah.
so how do you imagine, maybe we can do it before and after. How do you imagine that's going to feel? And when you're feeling it and you're performing, how do you imagine where do you imagine you'll be placing yourself with the
Mm.
fans? How are you going to
All
connect?
right. Yeah. So I have done some things like this before.
Okay.
So yeah, it is so odd. I'm a bit of an extrovert, so I feed off of that energy. Right. But I find this infinitely easier than, say, playing a show, as so many of us do, where nobody cares at all.
Mhm.
And it's like there are people there and you want to connect with them, but they're completely, just they're gone. That I've had so many shows like that where it's like you begin to learn to look inside for that energy. And I don't know if you will ever quite reach that same height is when you're vibing off of them. It's this mutual exchange and it's just like lightning, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. You kind of have to flip that switch and look within and bring it all from there, because you're
Yeah.
not getting that reception. But
Right.
yeah, yeah, I'll just go to that place, connect with the song and
I
just
think,
feel it.
I haven't gotten a chance to perform, and I don't think that I will, to be honest with you. It's not my stage, my role in life anymore is becoming what it is. But I do, I mean, as part of I did this with live engineering, and I
Yeah,
think it helped me connect and be successful. And so I'm doing it now, and I learned a bit about how to balance live versus like live in person versus and with recording and streaming when I did the Do It Into a Radio Hour with MP Cavalier and
yeah, yeah,
those guys. But what I have imagined and have tried, the shoes that I've tried to place myself in for the artist is, how's it going to feel? Because we do treat it like it is a studio, and we do treat
yeah,
it like a studio. So either in ears or over the ear headphones, the mix that you're hearing is what's going out. So
yeah, yeah,
I think the importance, like for me, the importance of that is to allow the artist to immerse themselves entirely in the vulnerability and because it is, it's extremely vulnerable. And if you're doing it, I don't want to say right, but if you're doing it, if you're giving it all, you're presenting these emotions for others to hopefully connect to, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that's why I think putting that stream out there is important. And I think what I want people to know too is that please react like in the chat, like even though it's not instant.
Yeah.
You know, we have imagined ourselves in this situation where you as the audience are also here with us. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's important to not feel that disconnect. Go ahead and allow yourself to feel connected, even though there's such a virtual distance, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hoping I'd like to hear your thoughts on that afterwards as well, because
Totally.
it's been something that I've thought about a lot. There's still and even doing this, there's still that performance high.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
could talk about this for hours because it goes back to the mental, you know, ebbs and flows.
Hmm.
Why successful musicians end up offing themselves so often.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's these ebbs and flows, and that's that performance high that you then eventually crash from, and you have to learn how to balance that. And
God, yeah.
so like it's a good experience. I'm looking forward. I'm very much looking forward to doing this with you. The people that
Likewise.
I've enjoyed every single person, every single act, everything we've worked with, but the most interesting for me are the ones that I've worked with in a live setting already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's pretty similar. It's just now it's more, there's no getting away from the fact that we are very intimately working together to
Yeah.
make this happen. And I'm
Yeah.
very excited to do that. With
Likewise.
on
Yeah.
March
March something.
5th. I really did not prepare that well for this, apparently. I just was so excited to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we're going to do this. It's going to be fun. Let me look it up now.
Oh, dang.
I don't even know where to look it up, to be honest with you. I mean, I know where, but
I never remember when or where I'm playing until the day of, anyway.
I'm getting old. And no, it's not true. I do sometimes feel like I am, though, because I'll look at I'll look at my phone and I do this, or recording studios.
5th. It is the 5th.
It's the
March
5th.
5th. Everyone, March 5th.
March 5th. Tommy Icarus and Kristen, the band, who I'm interviewing, and I'll be doing an interview like this with her on Wednesday, I believe. So
excellent.
Today is Friday, so that doesn't matter to you know, really too much. But thank you, Tommy. I'm excited.
Thank you, Rob.
And
yeah, so am I.
Off cam, off recording, we're going to be talking about the video game thing too. Because
yes,
I can get to collaborate with you, I want to do it.
Yes.
I love your music. I love the way you tap into the emotion, the connection, and just it's such a big and beautiful presentation that you give. And so I'm looking.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. Please hit the like and subscribe for the YouTube channel, by the way, for Tommy and for us. There's silly things that we would like to do, like change our URL so that it has our name in it, that you can't do until you get to certain numbers. Plus, we want to be able to spread this around and share it. So if you're seeing it, please like and subscribe to both Tommy Icarus and to Milkman Recording Studios, and follow us for more raw milk stuff. Tommy?
Rob.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Talk to you soon.